What's good everyone, it's Yadiiiigg here reporting for No Jumper, and today we're here to talk about 21 Savage and Metro Boomin. Now with the release of Savage Mode 2 planned for this Friday, which is most likely out by the time you're watching this video, we thought it would be a good time to revisit the original Savage Mode. Released in July of 2016, this collaborative project between superstar producer Metro Boomin and now megastar rapper 21 Savage, both of which hail from the cultural breeding ground of Atlanta, now 4 years removed after its release, in my opinion, stands out as one of the quintessential projects from the SoundCloud generation and is a personal classic to me. However, before we even get to the album, it's important to place into context where both of these two artists were at in their careers when the project released, how this project impacted their careers, and how the two's relationship even began. So 21 Savage, before even meeting Metro, would be ushered into the rap game by fellow well-known Atlanta natives Key and Sunny Digital, both of which spurred him on and helped him out early on in his career. However, Metro recalls in this piece by The Fader that him and 21 met before he had actually released any music, as they had mutual friends and they would run into each other. Then one day 21 approached him and said that he was starting to rap, which of course happens to Metro all the time, but there was something different about 21, so Metro actually sent him beats, which then leads to their first collaboration, Drip, which ended up on the Slaughter tape from 2015.
Metro Boomin, I could feel the drip.
And in fact, according to 21's Rap Radar interview right here, this collab project had been in the works for quite some time.
We were supposed to do that like when Slaughter King dropped. That was like what, 2015?
Yeah.
That's when we were supposed to drop.
He gave you what, the dip record, right?
Yeah. It was supposed to drop before that. But we just kept working. And then it just ended up dropping when it dropped.
So clearly, by the time the project was actually released in July of 2016, they'd been working on it for a minute. In fact, Metro Boomin with this tweet right here foreshadowed the tape's release by warning all the fake people to get ready in October of 2015. Progressing though into 2016 and around the release of the project, it goes without saying by this time Metro was already a prolific, well-known entity. After a huge 2015 working with the likes of Future, Drake and Travis multiple times, and not to mention the explosion of the Metro Don't Trust You meme.
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna show you. Beautiful morning, you're the sun.
Thanks to Father Stretch My Hands from Kanye West's T-Lop album in February of 2016, Metro had well and truly transcended into pop culture relevance and was probably the most infamous producer of the younger generation at that point in time. However, it's really important to the narrative of this album to understand that 21 at the time of Savage Mode's release was really just an up-and-coming underground artist. If you weren't around at this time, it's easy to think that because this album had hits and this album was with Metro, that he was already this huge big name mainstream star, but this just wasn't the case at all. For how popular he was on a minor SoundCloud internet level, he was yet to cross over to the mainstream. Hell, he was yet to even have a proper commercial album, he was yet to have a certified single, or even have a Billboard charting single or album. But all of this would change after Savage Mode, and to me this is the core narrative of the Savage Mode project. This was 21's magnum opus, and off the back of this project he would go from entering 2016 with no certifications and no Billboard entries to the end of 2016 having multiple of both. And this wasn't just due to the Metro cosign. However, this commercial breakthrough of 21's was also aided by Future, who of course, it goes without saying, was blazing hot after his huge 2015 run of hit solo projects, and not to mention What a Time to Be Alive, and Future blessing 21 with a feature on X. Helped this crossover process for 21, as X would be the first single they released from the project, and crucially would be 21's first mainstream hit single. And it basically went something like this: once X connected on that bigger level and was starting to chart and kind of get bigger, this would signal boost the rest of the project, snowballing into his other big hit from the project, No Heart.
Young Savage, why you trapping so hard? Why these niggas capping so hard?
As well as the rest of the project having huge success and kind of get into those bigger audiences. So yeah, in terms of 21 Savage's overarching career narrative, Savage Mode is imperative and plays a crucial role in 21 establishing himself to a mainstream audience. However, more importantly than the commercial success of the album was the actual music on the project. This project saw the worlds of Metro and 21 Savage collide for a dark, brooding listen. It took Metro's dark take on the Atlanta trap formula to the extreme, with his production across the project having a certain eeriness that made it sound more like the soundtrack to a horror film than a hip-hop project. No joke, No Heart's piano sounds as if it was ripped straight from a church scene in a horror film. And this haunting sonic direction that kind of engulfs the whole project was no accident, and it was a very deliberate move to go with this sound from the team involved with the project. Alex Tomei, the well-known engineer who has worked with the likes of Travis Scott, Young Thug, and Kanye West, spoke about the creative process for this album, noting that 21 Savage's voice was, quote, very aggressive and kind of harsh. It just kind of made sense to drown it in reverb and go 100% into the whole horror film kind of feel to it. And these bleak sonic canvases were filled effortlessly by 21 with lyrics that matched the vibe of the production. Although 21's lyrics, especially earlier on in his career, generally revolved around the typical trap tropes, the strength of 21's lyrics has always been their unapologetically direct and blunt nature.
Went your mama house, went your grandma house, keep shooting it till somebody die. So many shots, the neighbor looked at the calendar, thought it was 4th of July.
And lyrics like this on the project just hit a little different over the menacingly dark Metro production. And sitting at a tight 9 tracks, this project gave listeners enough of the sound without overstaying its welcome. And take away the success of the project, the plaques, and the numbers that I talked about at the start of the video, I think the music in and of itself symbolizes one of the best front-to-back project offerings from any of the newer generation's artists, and is right up there with albums like Playboi Carti's Self-Titled and Lil Yachty's Lil Boat 1. And as Metro and 21 have continued to progress in their respective careers, with them both having ongoing success, Savage Mode remains a jewel in both their discographies and a fan favorite. And looking back at how pivotal this project was to 21's come up as an artist, there is no doubt that without Metro opening up his door and shining his light on 21 the way he did on this project, 21 wouldn't have had the fast ascent to mainstream stardom that he had. Of course, not taking anything away from 21, and I think he would have got there eventually, but it can't be stated how much Metro really helped him break through to those bigger audiences. And although there were other factors involved that helped 21's star rise, such as a XXL placement which happened a month before Savage Mode, and as well as this Drake and Travis co-signs with huge looks, both of which happened after Savage Mode, I think there's a reason why it's such a beloved project. And this is because this was the introduction to 21 for many people, and still to this day probably stands as my favorite project from him. And ever since Savage Mode 2 has been announced, it's been highly sought after and highly anticipated by fans, and we've been constantly teased with it over the past year or so. And now that it's probably out by the time you're watching this video, make sure to let us know what you think about it in the comments below. Myself personally, I'm really excited to give it a listen, and I just saw the cover art got announced a day or so ago, and that looks really fire as well. So let us know what you think about it if you've given it a listen in the comments below. Also guys, if you guys don't know myself, Yadiiiigg, I do have my own YouTube channel where I upload very similar content to this. If you like this video and you want to check out some of my work, the link will be in the description. That'll be much appreciated. Also, if you haven't, make sure to hit that like button down below, and you can see more No Jumper videos on the screen right now. Make sure to check them out if you haven't. But that's all from me. Thanks a lot for watching. Peace.